So, hi, nice to see you
Hi,
again.
Meg. It's so
Yeah,
great to
oh, it's
see
a
you
great to see you
today.
too. Please go ahead and introduce yourself.
My name is Suzanne Hawes, and I am the head of HR at Sterne, Kessler, Goldstein Fox. We are a law firm specializing in intellectual property legal services.
And, I am so glad that we're having this conversation because you have been a GTD champion. I think you've even, have been exposed to GTD for a really long time. And I would love our listeners just to hear a little bit about your journey with GTD because it is so robust and you've taken so many turns.
I first started with GTD in 2005. I was introduced to it when our training organization, I was working for SC Johnson in Racine, Wisconsin at the time, and the training team, which was right next door to my office, they were rolling out a program. It was 2 full days of training in this new idea of getting things done. And I was so excited about it. I went out and got the book even before I had a chance to take the class.
And then you went through the training yourself, correct? So you first were a practitioner and then you actually went through the train the trainer program, correct?
I think maybe around 2014 or 15, I decided to get certified to train GTD in my organization. So at that point, I flew to Dallas. I went through a 3-day training program, had to take a very comprehensive exam in order to be able to teach it. And yes, I've been teaching GTD at my organization since then.
But what is so then interesting is how you caught on to coaching. And
Yes.
so how did that first come about where you thought, "Oh, let me now see about introducing individual GTD coaching into the law firm."
I first started to think about introducing more intensive coaching to our organization. Having taught the course for a number of years, I recognized that while some people were good to go after the day that they would with
Right.
me, many people would find it a hurdle to take what they had learned in the class and figure out how it applies to their particular world. And in particular, what I found was the lawyers that I work with would say, "This is great. I just don't know how I can apply it to the work that I do." And not being a lawyer myself, I realized I need to call somebody in who could work one on one with the lawyer to say, "All right, show me your world." The coach would be the expert in the GTD, all of the methodologies. The lawyer would be the expert in what they're trying to accomplish. And then
Right.
together they could find the system that works the best for them. So I had to practically beg people at first to try this out. And I found a few people who were kindred spirits and they said, "Sure, this sounds great." They probably didn't even need the coaching. They would have figured it out
Right.
themselves.
Right.
They were already like, "Oh, this sounds really great." Now you fast forward 2, 3 years later, just yesterday, I sent out an email to our new partners. I said, "We have this offering. We offer it to all of our new partners." And I had uh, copied a few of the previous
Oh,
participants
good. Oh,
in
nice.
that and said, "Hey, I'm copying these other people who have been through the coaching. If you want to hear how it's been helpful for them, don't just listen to me, the HR person. Your colleagues can tell you how it's been helpful." Immediately, there were responses of, "You definitely need to do this. Here's how it's helped me. I thought I was organized before. This really took me to a new level." And immediately, within a few minutes, I had all of these responses. "Yes, please count me in." And what
That
I'm
is
hoping
Very, very
It
creative
is.
to
It's
have done
so,
that, to have CC'd those guys to let them chime in.
well, what I'm hoping is that the word is going to spread. Just two attorneys are working together, and one of them mentions something about, oh, I'm just going to make a waiting for, or, this is a 2-minute rule thing. Let me just get it done. And that will pique the other person's interest to say, what is this? What are you? Oh, let me tell you. So that soon I'm going to have people calling me saying, I hear you're giving our new partners this coaching. How do I get that too?
And it's so smart to be able, just, I always say to people, be quiet and just start doing it, right? And people will start noticing. They'll be like, wow, you seem so much more relaxed, or wow, you're getting back to me on a such, like with the email, getting back to people, right? Or just like, again, their demeanor, they just seem so much more in that relaxed, place, that they're on top of it. You see them capturing, so they're capturing their agreements. They're able to track what they delegate, because I think sometimes there's
Right.
fear when you move up, that all of a sudden it's not just you doing your individual work, but it's all the things that you've delegated and you're monitoring. And that can be a little overwhelming, with all of a sudden not only to have your own work, but then to have the direct reports and the monitoring of that work, and then being tracking it and saying, well, wait a minute, I gave that to you on December 5th, haven't heard back. And they're like, whoa, like, you're tracking, not like I got you, but oh, like, you're really kind of on top and really kind of in control. But I do find that one of the things that I have to do is talk to people. You're already highly productive. It's the people that are already highly productive that are the most attracted to this in some ways, because you're experiencing drag with emails. And I always say, Suzanne, I wish I could videotape everybody when they finally get to zero with emails, because they'd be like, I haven't seen zero for like ever, or like, wow, I don't know what to do now. Like, my work has always been in my email. And how I just always feel like if we can just get people stopping to working out of their head and the latest and the loudest, and stop having them work out of their inbox, just even that is such a great win
Right.
for people.
Well, it's like running with weights on, that you don't even
That's good.
know if you've never had inbox zero, it's like running with weights on, because you've never seen it before.
We've talked about the theme of it's getting that kind of momentum, and other people are saying it, because I think after all these decades, it still comes from champions. It still comes from somebody saying, trust me, like, really trust me. Like, I know enough about you, and I know what you have on your plate, and you have this big life and you have all this going on. Just trust me. Just give this a chance. I think because so many people have tried so many little pieces over time, right? That don't
Right.
end up working because it's not the comprehensive methodology. They get these
Right.
little pieces and then they break down, and they're like, well, what's going to make this different? I'm like, what's going to make this different is that it's a comprehensive methodology, because if you just have a couple of pieces, it won't stick, because you need these other pieces as well.
When I find people who are really hesitant to commit, because they feel like I have to change my entire life to buy into this a certain way, I try to lessen the pressure. And I
That's
guess it's
true.
different if I've just bought a 2-week coaching program. Yes, I'm ready to change my life. But if I, Suzanne, am teaching a class and I have people saying, I don't know, this may not work for me, I find I say throughout the day, if you get nothing out of this
Yes,
class
that's very
but
true.
this, your life will still be better. And the thing I wanted to particularly mention was the waiting for lists. Um, Especially when you are at a point where you are no longer just managing your own work, you are responsible for monitoring the
Right.
work of other people. And I find that there are a lot of people for whom deadlines are just merely suggestions. And I actually, as the leader, need to bring the structure I need to do a lot of other things. I need to explain the big picture and why it's important that we meet this deadline. But when I bring the structure of the my waiting for,
Right.
it then creates an expectation in others that, oh, I know Suzanne will be following my commitment, the commitment that I made today. Therefore, uh, I'm going to deliver. And so Suzanne, get better results because people know she's not going to forget. And I tell people, like, look,
Mhm.
like, that's something to know about me, is that if you tell me you're going to do something, I'm going to remember. So don't make commitments that you're not prepared to fulfill.
Well, I appreciate you saying that because I know that in seminars it's very much like that, right? Can you just get that one thing that they
Right.
could be like take away and do that? But it's also how we start coaching. I had my first call with somebody today and like I was like the win was going to be agendas and waiting fors, because the way that she was tracking agendas was pretty comprehensive and complex in some ways,
Yeah.
right? And then this was like, oh, that's just so great. I just write it down on agendas and when I see the person and when I think about it and then again the waiting for those are just such great like wins to get them like, oh, now what's next and now what's next and
Right.
oh, give me a little bit more and give me a little bit more because sometimes people are kind of concerned that they've had these systems for decades sometimes
Right.
and changing it a little bit. But that's what's so beautiful about GTD is there's no rules, it's just best practices and it's so organic, and as a coach you're co-creating it with them and you're just finding the gaps.
And
um,
it's not rocket science either. I think that's the
yeah,
thing, is that they feel like that they need to get a new degree to be able to organize this. And when you tell people, no, this could be as simple as keeping a piece of paper
right.
that you keep a list of your next actions. One of the things that I have noticed over the last 18, 19 years that I've been practicing GTD is that it has gotten simpler for me. I tried to make it really complex, and I watch many people saying, well, I can buy this tool, I can cross tabulate this and this. And I'm like, no, like, this literally, you could do this on a piece of paper and carry that piece of paper around with you all the
Right.
time, and you
Right.
would still be better off.
I I think that the vast majority of my coaching is making it simpler. I just did an interview for Omni Show because I use OmniFocus.
Hmm.
And one of the things that I said was, I have never met anybody that I didn't have to deconstruct it because
Right.
they had so built it
Too
up
complicated. Yeah.
and they made it too complicated. And then all of a sudden, when you get it down to the bare bones, and then you can kind of use some of the bells and whistles that the tools have, and then you can kind of build up when it's very strategic versus using all these, because everybody's trying to get organized without doing the thinking first.
Right.
So do the thinking and then you organize it and make it so much simpler. And that's what I think we do. It's like I go in and I'm like, wow, I love the analogy of the weights. I'm like, you got so many weights on you that let's just take them all off and everybody just feels so lighter. So
Right.
I love that example, particularly just because you have all these great examples delivering the in-house seminars. How would you what would you recommend for people who, because we get this a lot, where individuals will contact us in an organization and say, how do I even present this to HR? Or, and also for people who are in HR, how could they replicate kind of what you've been doing to get this more into the culture? Because sometimes we find that it just kind of doesn't happen for a variety of reasons. And I'm just wondering if you have any insight or suggestions for people in your position, but also for people in an organization.
Well, I think Abraham Lincoln said that it's amazing what you can get done when you don't worry about who's getting credit. And may not have been Abraham Lincoln, but it's a great quote. And What I have found over the years is that rather than having something be an HR initiative, if I can find somebody on the leadership team, somebody who's influential in the organization, who has the pull, has the budget to bring something in, if I can get them to try it and like it, and then I'm sure you've seen this dozens of times. The first thing that somebody says after they get organized is they say, you know who needs this? It's my boss, my wife, my neighbor, my coworker that I work with all the
Yes.
time.
Yes.
And so they become champions for it. So if you find that person who's the champion, get them to try it. Let them do all of the persuasion, and
Right.
then be prepared there to come in and support it. That's the best way. Otherwise, you won't go very far. You do need to find people who have either done it or at least interested in trying it out.
Right.
That's exactly what I did. I found somebody who was um, that I knew probably was already super organized. He probably didn't need it, but I knew he would be intrigued to find out what more he could do with his system.
Right. Nice.
And so I said, hey, would you like to try this? I've done this. It's really cool. Um, and it's also amazing. I found out only afterwards that one of our founding partners has been a long time fan
Oh,
of David
interesting.
Allen and getting things done. So um, just finding those, and then, as I said, being able to reference those. Hey, if you're interested in learning more about how this could help you, here's somebody who's been doing it. And if, do you want to be like him? Maybe this could help you too.
No, thank you for that. I was a question that I was really wanting to ask you because, you have with your history and what's happening in the organization, we get that a lot when people come and they're looking to their organization or how do I get it more into the organization? So I think it's going to be great for the listeners to hear that from you.
The key is to get the momentum going.
Right.
And
Right.
again, you have to think about what is it that you're after. Are you trying to get a program going, or are you trying to actually change behavior? And there's a lot of
Exactly.
different ways to change behavior, not just spending money on a particular uh, course or coach. But if you do some of those free things, that could build the momentum where somebody says, oh, I'd really love to do this. I don't have time to do this, or I don't want to do this alone, but I have the money to invest in a coach. Hey, can we bring coaching in? And next thing you know, somebody's calling you and saying, like, isn't there maybe somebody I could work with one-on-one on this?
Well, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so
Thank
much for
you.
having this conversation with me. And thank you again for being such a champion. Seriously. I'm just so appreciative for people like you in your role that see the value and want to be able just to expose people to this so that at least they know that there's a solution out there, that they don't have to be really kind of continuously in that busy trap or that brute force or getting close to burnout or, having challenges with the harmony of their personal and professional. That's what so much we see is we see that I can't sustain what I'm doing anymore.
Right.
I've upped the game of my life so much and things are breaking down on me. And so for you to bring this as a solution and an option, we're just so appreciative. So thank you. For more GTD resources, please visit gettingthingsdone.com and David Allen's YouTube channel. For more information on GTD coaching, please email us at info@gtdfocus.com or visit our website at gtdfocus.com.